In this first section, I wanted to just give you a quick overview of HTML and CSS and what each of them is meant to do, and also give you kind of a bird's eye view of how things work. As you go through these videos, you'll find that you're going to want to try a lot of this stuff. So you're going to want to learn it, right? So you're going to want to be able to type in HTML, CSS, see the result. If you have a program like a Dreamweaver, let's say, or something like that, or a text editor, what you can do is you can save it as HTML and open it within a browser. If you don't want to go that far, you can also open a website like tinkerbin.com. You can see this right here. And if you type in HTML, what it does, it starts to show it over on the right over there. So anything you basically type in, it'll put over there. So you can see my code, my tags, that sort of thing, and it starts to put the output over here. You can add the CSS, the HTML, and all that stuff here, and it just helps you to visualize what you're doing if you want to practice. Now, hopefully this is around when you're watching this video. It's an alpha, it says. Another one you can try is tryiteditor.webs.com/instant. You can see the URL right there. And this is the same thing. This just starts out with a page that's already there, and we'll talk all about this stuff. But you can, get rid of all this stuff right over here. You can see it right there. And then you can go and type stuff in, and it'll show up over on the right. And it's just a nice, easy way to kind of check things out and how they work. I prefer Tinkerbin because it allows you to do the CSS in place. But anyway, I digress. Let me go back to a web page here. Let's talk about HTML and CSS just quickly. We all probably know, because you're trying to learn about it, you probably know what it does, right? Well, when you go to a URL, some people call them URIs. You can see right here, like my website here, askbrianwood.com. And you want to look and see how things are built. We have a toolbar you can use called the Web Developer Toolbar, and this thing is available for Chrome and Firefox. If you just go to like a search engine and you type in Web Developer Toolbar, Chrome or Firefox, you can install it. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to do things like look at all the CSS or the styling for a web page. And we all probably know that CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. If you didn't, well, now you do. We can disable all styles. We can look at the HTML. Matter of fact, if I click Disable All Styles, you'll see what a web page looks like without the styling, and it's pretty horrific, actually. All right, let me turn that back on. If you are just getting started with HTML and you want to see maybe what pages are doing, and this is how I learned, actually. For almost all browsers, you can usually go up somewhere and find what's called source. Like in Chrome here, I've got View Developer, View Source. You'll see it says like source or page source, but it's usually under Edit or View. And if I click on that, you can see the HTML for this page. There's a lot of stuff going on. And when you first start trying to learn HTML, you look at all this and your head just starts to swim. I know I did. I started typing in HTML about 15 years ago, and it was rough in the beginning. But that's because there weren't a lot of resources and things for me to learn. I actually had to crack open a book and start learning that way, and I don't work well doing that. So anyway, let's take a look at what a web page is made of. I've got a PDF open here, and let me fit this into full screen real quick. What is a web page made of? Well, seems kind of silly, but I think it's really important. A web page is made of content. Well, yeah, we got text, we got pictures, we got video, we got all this stuff that we want to stick on a web page in a browser and have it show, right? Well, content that you stick within an HTML page, within a web page, is just a big blob of stuff, essentially. The browser's going to look at it and say, okay, well, hey, isn't this pretty? Look at what I made you. In order for us to start to, make it look the way we want it, like have headings and, links and different things like that, we need to do what's called mark it up. We need to give it structure. HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, is meant to take your blob of stuff and give it this structure. Give it, structure like, let's say this is a list, or this is a heading, or this is a link, this is an image. We essentially tell the browser using all of these predefined, what are called tags or HTML tags, that, hey, this is what this thing is. When you say something is, let's say, a list, you can see like a bullet list right there. That's called an unordered list in HTML, or UL tag. If we put the tag in there, if we do it, and I'll show you all about this, don't worry. But if we tell the browser, hey, here's an unordered list, the browser is going to do something like, okay, well, let's add a bullet point. Let's indent it. Let's make it this size. Let's make it this color. HTML has default formatting when we assign it to our text or our content, and that's what the browser displays. So our job is to take that default formatting, that usually horrific looking stuff that looks like 1994, and we add design to it. CSS, the cascading style sheets, are the design or the styles for your page. And CSS does so much for your page. Your head will spin when you realize what it does. But if you're coming from print, let's say, and you come from InDesign, and you use paragraph styles and character styles and things like that, or you're in Word or Quark Express, then you know what CSS generically is. It's a way for us to make a bunch of styling, to style our content, our images, our text, our columns, or this or that, and save it so we can reuse it on other pages in our site. Now, HTML and CSS alone can do some really cool things, make your page look amazing, but a lot of times we're going to want to also do cool stuff. Now, cool stuff is, let's say, add a shopping cart. Maybe add a really cool slideshowy deal, or a lot of things that we see today, like light boxes and stuff like that. That's the cool stuff, and that's different technology above and beyond HTML and CSS that we usually employ. So this is essentially what a web page is made of. It's an HTML document that we put content in. We then assign tags, or we mark up the content and say to browser, hey, here's a paragraph, here's a heading. We then assign styling to it using CSS or cascading style sheets. And then if we want to go as far as adding cool stuff, we add cool stuff. So I just wanted to give you an overview of HTML and CSS and sort of drive home a couple different things. And one of those is this. If you deal with HTML, this happens to be an HTML page or the source code for my website. And there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of stuff. HTML is meant to convey meaning. It's not meant to convey presentation. The reason why we do that is because that way we can use it in different devices. The CSS or the styling is what gives it the presentation, the look, the feel. Okay? HTML is meant to just mark it up and say, all right, well, here is what this thing means. Here is a title. Here is a link, that sort of thing. As we go through these videos, you'll get that. Okay? You'll understand that. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there in the beginning. All right, enough talk. Let's get to it. The next thing we're going to do in the next section is we're going to get started with HTML. We're going to create a simple HTML page that contains all the pieces we need, and we're going to talk about the different things like what's a doc type, what are tags, what's nesting, what are the sections of a web page, and stuff like that.